Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Kelly Clement. I am your YouTube host today. Welcome to this presentation of Finding the Right Strategy for 2022. Jeff Gibby is going to be our presenter today. We're very excited to have our own Jeff Gibby presenting today and talking to you about the best ways to identify what your prevailing strategy should be for 2022. So stay tuned for that here in about 8 minutes. As you come in, please tell us where you are, where you're coming in from. We'd love to hear where people are coming in from. I'm here in beautiful Salt Lake City. A little hazy today, but kind of warm. So that's a good thing. Now, as we get started, if you are not familiar with MetaStock, who we are, what we do, we are purveyors of technical analysis and charting software. I am just going to play a quick video for you to show you just a quick introduction to MetaStock, what we do, how we work here, and then I will be right back with you just to make sure that we are up and going. So hang on and we'll get that video playing for you and we'll be right back.
Hi there, Greg Lewis, MetaStock Software. As the marketing director, I get asked all the time, what is MetaStock? How can I help my trades? Well, stick around for about 3 minutes and I'll tell you. MetaStock is an award-winning software and data package that has been helping traders for over 35 years. Simply put, MetaStock is a tool for traders like you to analyze the markets. MetaStock helps you take the guesswork out of trading by offering a methodical, systematic approach to some key questions all traders come up against. Questions like, how do I decide which securities to trade when there are literally thousands to choose from? Which strategy should I use, and how do I test that strategy before spending my first trading dollar? When should I enter and exit a trade? How can I effectively manage the securities I'm interested in? And of course, how do I know where prices will go next? At the core of MetaStock are the PowerTools. The PowerTools give professional-grade analysis tools to private traders like you and me. You can scan the market with the MetaStock Explorer to filter and sort securities that show buy and sell signals based on your criteria. The MetaStock System Tester lets you test most strategies through a process called backtesting, which allows you to see how your strategy would have performed over time. You can easily manage and monitor the securities you are interested in with Quote Center. Quote Center lets you sort on a variety of criteria to view the data that's important to you. Then just double-click on a security if you want to see its chart. With the MetaStock Forecaster, you can even take advantage of patented technology to view probable future prices. If you're an options trader, you're going to love MetaStock's OptionScope. OptionScope puts all the critical info at your fingertips, displaying sortable, customizable, color-coded options data, including the Greeks. And MetaStock has solutions for traders of all levels and interests. If you're just getting into trading, you will appreciate the education offered by our many built-in systems. In addition to pointing out buy and sell signals, MetaStock explains how they work in an easy-to-follow commentary window. MetaStock has built-in systems based on popular strategies like MACD, Bollinger Bands, turtle trading, candlesticks, and many more. MetaStock even has the very popular and exclusive Rahul Mohindar oscillator system, or simply known as the RMO. And as you become a more experienced trader, MetaStock grows with you. Advanced analysts will enjoy the comprehensive list of trading systems and indicators, and the ability to build their own systems. And if you're a day trader, you can't do better than Zenith, the real-time news, data, and analysis package offered by Refinitiv, a world leader in market data. Add on the world-class support, and it's not hard to see why MetaStock has won the Stocks and Commodities Reader's Choice Award for 26 consecutive years. To find out more about MetaStock and how it can help your trading, visit metastock.com or contact a product professional via phone, email, or chat.
Okay, well, there is a quick introduction to MetaStock, who we are, what we do. Again, welcome today. We are discussing finding the right strategy for 2022 with our own Jeff Gibby as your presenter today. My name again is Kelly Clement. I'll be your YouTube host. I'll be here answering questions as Jeff goes through the presentation and helping you out. So as you come into the room today, if you have any questions about MetaStock, the markets, whatever's going on, go ahead and put them in the chat box. Let's talk about what your questions are. That's how they get answered, is by asking them. So we'll look forward to your questions during the presentation. We are going to get started here in 3 minutes. So super excited for that. Go ahead and hang out with us for just a couple more minutes. I'll be checking right back in with you in just a moment, and we'll be good to go. I just checked in with Jeff. He is all set to go over in the GoToWebinar room to start our presentation, our Finding the Right Strategy for 2022. So I'm going to go ahead and get this ball rolling and enjoy the presentation.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you're having a good morning. Hope you're having a good trading day. And I'm going to mute. Oh, okay. Looks like it's done. I can just hear some side noise. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. Kelly, the beeps on join is on. If you could turn that off, that would make it a little bit less distracting for everybody and me too. Thanks. I actually don't need to wear that. I don't know why I put it on. I want to don't need to wear them if I'm the only one speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and take them off, get a little bit more comfortable. I hope you're doing well. I want to say thank you for coming in today. It's good to have you here. If you do have questions, I have both YouTube and GoToWebinar chats right here. I'll be watching for questions. Today we're going to do a class about finding the right strategy for you. I like this class quite a bit. If you have symbols you want to look at or things like that as we go, I'll try to keep it as interactive as you want it to be. So we will start with a little bit of a disclaimer. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the coming software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. And MetaStock shall have no liability for any trading strategies or any information provided in connection with the company. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's pretty much the legalese that we're going to be talking about. My name is Jeff Gibby. I've been here at MetaStock. If you can believe it, in just about a couple months here, March 31st, will be my 25th year anniversary here at MetaStock. So it's a great company to work for. I've obviously been here for just under 25 years now. So when I started, we were owned by Reuters, that then became Thomson Reuters, then it became Refinitiv. We purchased ourselves back from actually Thomson Reuters about 8 years ago in 2013. And it's been a very, very good company to work for. I enjoy the people here. I enjoy working here. I started in inside sales. I did inside sales for the better part of a decade. And for the last 10 years, then I spent another 10 years or so actually doing business to business and working with our dealers and doing presentations and demonstrations all over the globe. For the last 5 or 6 years, I still do quite a bit of that. I do quite a bit of webinars. I also I'm in charge of like our sales team and kind of making sure everybody's on the same page. And it's been a really good job. I really like it here. It's a very, very good corporate culture. But in addition to that, it's also very, one of the things I'm exceptionally proud of is the fact that like for 28 years in a row now, MetaStock has been rated the #1 software program in its category. Mark, thanks for saying hi in the YouTube chat. Welcome. I appreciate your coming in. Also, Daryl, Raphael, Terrell, welcome. Okay, so 28 years in a row, we've been rated #1. Today, for today's class, it's kind of what I'm going to talk a little bit about is I'm going to teach you a trading methodology. That's going to be the MACD. We're going to talk about kind of, I think a good way to talk about trading ideas is to kind of show you how simple they can be. And the MACD developed by Troy Aldapell is actually a really, really good way to show that. We're going to talk a lot about kind of finding strategies, how I like to evaluate trading strategies. I almost said how you should evaluate trading strategies, but we definitely don't make just like what I like to look for when I'm looking at trading strategies and kind of how to run scanning and things like that in MetaStock. And so basically that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's go ahead and do that. So one of the favorite quotes of all time is a guy by the name of Richard Dennis. Richard Dennis, if you're not familiar with the backstory, you should look it up. I'm not going to kind of go into a lot of detail on it, but he was a very, very famous futures trader in the 70s. And he developed one of the, with him, and a guy by the name of Bill Eckhart, if I remember that right off the top of my head, were actually the original founders of the turtle trading experiment. So if you want to know more about that and kind of like why he's so important to the world of technical analysis, look him up on the Wikipedia. You can just search him on Wikipedia. There's a really interesting story about how they took traders and funded them and taught them how to trade and were really, really well, or did really, really well with them. Anyway, the quote here is, I always say you could publish rules in a newspaper and no one would follow them. The key to trading is consistency and it's discipline. So that's one of my favorite quotes, because one of the things I think a lot of people, particularly new traders, kind of struggle with is they will get into trades and they won't have stop losses in place. They won't. They might have even have rules that they want to trade with, but they won't follow them. And one of the things that I learned early on in my career here at MetaStock was one of the best professions to go into trading was an airline pilot. And usually when we do kind of in-person events and start to ask people about who they think the best kind of profession for trading is, we'll get all kinds of answers, like some of them that have a lot of merit, like psychologists or engineers, or but the actual truth, the actual answer that we're kind of looking for when we do that kind of question is an airline pilot. And I think the reason that it's an airline pilot is, with an airline pilot, if you kind of think about kind of what's involved in the role, it involves a lot of discipline. For example, when they're taking off, they're going to have when an airline pilot's taking off, they're going to have a complete checklist. And every time they take off, they're going to look at, they're going to follow that checklist. They're going to follow the rules. And they're going to basically kind of be very, very disciplined. And they have to follow those rules and follow that checklist every single time. Same is true when they're landing. If something goes wrong, there's very, very specific rules that they have to follow. And we're not going to talk a lot about discipline today. We will talk a lot about trading rules. One of the other things that he said is that almost anybody could, I might have that as a side note, almost anybody could make up better rules than what they had, but what they would lack is the discipline to follow them. So what we're going to talk about today is, how do you find the rules that work well? How do you find the business plan when it comes to trading that's going to work well for you? But I do think a key ingredient that you need to keep in mind always in your trading plan is never go into a trade not knowing why. You shouldn't be buying something because maybe Kelly in the control room told you. You shouldn't be buying something because your Uncle Bob told you that this looked like a good idea. What you want to do is have a good idea of why you're buying a stock. And then you also want to understand exactly when you're getting out of that stock and why. Now, none of those decisions are best made while you're kind of in the middle of a trade. Other things that I think are important in trading is money management, stop losses, position sizing. All these things are critical. But what I want to talk today about is rules. Obviously, there's a lot of rules that you can use in the market. There's a lot of rules that are based on technical analysis and technical theory. We're going to talk about how to trade with rules, and we'll teach you kind of a simple system. So the system, as I kind of promised a little bit earlier that we were going to talk about today, is based on Gerald Appel's MACD. MACD stands for moving average convergence divergence. And the reason I talk about this is, well, there's actually two reasons. I'll give you kind of both reasons that I actually kind of show MACD. The first reason is, one of our most popular videos on our YouTube site is MACD. And so it's something that a lot of people are looking at. It's something that a lot of people like. And the second reason is, I know that a lot of traders actually trade a lot with MACD and they don't have any idea what it is. So I'm going to teach you what it is today. It might be a little bit basic for some of you that have been trading for a little bit of time, but those are the reasons that I actually use MACD. I'm not saying MACD is the best system that you should be using. I'm not saying you should even use it. But what I want you to understand really from that is how the MACD is calculated, but more importantly, how a good trading system should be objective and not subjective, and how you should be able to look at trades and say, okay, this is why I'm getting in, this is when I'm going to get out, and those should be also objective and not subjective. You're not going to hear me talk a lot about the current iteration of the coronavirus and what effect that's going to have on the economy, or the Delta virus, or the Delta version, or those things are things that definitely do impact the economy, but they're not something that's objective. They're more subjective. Is the Delta variant going to be bad for the economy? Is it going to be good? Those things are not things that we can measure on, and certainly they play a role in it. But what we're going to be doing is studying price activity. And based on kind of what the trend is doing and what the direction of things are doing, we're going to be making decisions on that. So here's a picture I found on the internet of Gerald Appel, and it is, in a nutshell, a trend and momentum indicator. So trend, the trend is your friend, befriend the trend, et cetera, et cetera. You've heard a lot of these things kind of set out there. MACD is a trend following indicator, but it also measures momentum. And so what I'm going to do is show you kind of how Gerald Appel initially designed that. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 different ways you can actually use it in your trading, and then we're going to test it to see how well it works against other trading scenarios. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into the software. As you can see, that's the end of the slides that we have. And what we're going to do is, well, I guess we'll just start with Apple because it's the chart that I have open, and I'm going to show you how to calculate MACD and 3 different ways you can interpret it. So here what we've got though is I've already opened up the chart of Apple. One of the things I'll say about MetaStock, and this is a MetaStock webinar, thanks for coming, but it's very easy to change things. So right now we're looking at a candlestick charts. And one of the things that I'll actually kind of encourage you to do is anytime you want to change something about MetaStock, it's very, very easy. Like, so for example, right now I'm looking at a bar chart. If I wanted to change that over to like a candlestick chart, all I had to do is actually double click on the chart itself, and it's going to bring up some options. So like if I double click right here, it's going to bring up the options for me. I could look at candlesticks, candle volume, candlesticks, equivolume, line, point and figure, Renko, 3-line break, anything that I want to, I can actually go ahead and change it. I'm going to go ahead and change it to candlesticks, and I'll just leave it black for up and black for down. We'll go ahead and click on OK. As you use MetaStock, what I want you to keep in mind is that we've very much on purpose designed this to work like Windows applications. So I'm going to add indicators here. I'm going to show you how to drag and drop, but you should know how to drag and drop because it's very easy. Anytime I want to change something on the chart, I just click on what I want to change, double click on it, and it'll bring up properties. So very, very easy to manipulate and get the chart exactly the way that you want. Okay, over here, let's go ahead and add those indicators right here. What I'm going to do is the first indicator I'm going to actually add is MACD because that's the one we're talking about. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'll just find here we've got an alphabetical list of all of the indicators that are included in MetaStock, and there's several hundred of them. They're all alphabetically listed by first the built-ins, and then there's an alphabetical list of all the other indicators. I will also say with MetaStock, you can create your own indicators. You can, everything that I show you, like system tests, everything we're working with today, you can create your own scans, everything. It's a very, very customizable platform. I also think that's one of the reasons we've been rated so highly for 28 years. So anyway, let's go ahead and find the MACD on the list. It's right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it and drop it on the chart. So what I mean by that is I'm going to hold my mouse button down when I select it from the list, and then I'm going to hold that down until I drop it where I want it to go. A lot of you are very familiar with drag and drop. I maybe go a little bit into too much detail about what that means. If I drop it here, though, if I let go of the mouse button here, it's going to put MACD right on top of my chart. I could also drop MACD down here. I could also drop it at the very top. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it at the very top. And it's going to basically then open up a parameters dialog box for me. I'm going to go ahead and click OK right now. You'll notice that it actually opened with an inner window that's black. I want to change that. And again, anytime I want to change something, I just double click on what I want to change. I'm going to go to the inner window properties here. I'm going to change that to white for 2 reasons. I prefer white. And the second reason is I think it's a little easier to see on the internet as well. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of the MACD value here. Again, I'll just double click on that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it black. And so that you can see it a little bit clearer on the internet, I'm going to go ahead and make it quite a bit thicker as well, actually quite a bit thicker. Let's go ahead and click on that. That looks pretty good. I also want to change this little dotted line that dropped down, and I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. And to do that, I'll just double click on it. I'm going to make that quite a bit thicker as well. Okay. Now, one of the things I like about MetaStock is I just showed you there's like several hundred indicators that are included in MetaStock. One of the things that I really like is I can actually figure out, or it's got a really, really good included help file. So for example, I'm trying to remember, and I should have this memorized, but I'm trying to remember exactly what moving averages go into the MACD. And off the hand, I think it's like 12 and 27, or it might be 13 and 27, but I'm not sure. So if I wanted to kind of be sure, because I'm going to talk about how it's calculated, I wanted to know the exact numbers, I can just come in here. And instead of double clicking on MACD, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to help right here. And of all of those indicators that are built in, I'm going to get an overview of the indicator that I picked. So in this case, we picked MACD, okay? And the moving average convergence divergence indicator is calculated by subtracting the 26 period exponential moving average from the 12 period exponential moving average. So I think I said it was 26 and 12, but I wasn't sure if it was 26 and 13. Now I know. Okay, and it's a subtraction. So I'm going to go ahead and apply those to the chart and show you how to get the MACD calculated. You'll also notice that if I want more help interpreting this indicator, I can click on interpretation. I can go to parameters. I can kind of get some tips on using it. There's a lot. Actually, we have our printed manuals. Back when we used to print the manuals, they were about 600-700 pages long. All of that help is still just available to you. And all you have to do is click on help, and you can see how any indicator is calculated, how it's used, how you can use it in your trading charts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the big thing that I wanted to know, though, is that it was 12 and 26. So let's go ahead and plot a couple of moving averages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab moving average here. You'll notice that MACD is at the top of the list, as well as moving average, as well as volume. These, basically what this does is it keeps track of, I think it's your 10 most recently used indicators. So any indicators that you're applying to a chart quite frequently are going to be at the very, very top of the list, which just makes it easier. So if I want to apply MACD again, it's right here. I don't have to find it again in the list of, the 200 or 300. And we've added a lot of really cool things like that into the software recently over the last several versions that just make it a little bit easier to use. We call them quality of life upgrades, and they've been really, really nice. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab the moving average. And again, it's just a drag and drop operation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it out of the list. I'm going to drop it right here on top of price. I want you to notice right now, I haven't dropped it yet, but I want you to notice that price is pink. And I'm pointing at my monitor like that's going to help you see it. But right here, price is pink. So that means like if I drop it here, it's going to calculate a moving average of price. Okay. I can do a moving average of volume. I can do a moving average of another indicator. And so what if I wanted to do another moving average of MACD, is if that was pink, I could just drop it there. It's such a flexible program. I do actually want a moving average of price. And what Gerald uses in his calculations is a 12 and a 26 exponential. So let's go ahead and drop one of them right here on price. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to a 12 period exponential based on the close. And we'll go ahead and, for color, I'm going to go ahead and make that blue, I guess. And then what I'll do is I'll make it a little bit thicker. I'll go ahead and click on OK. And there I've got my 12 period exponential of the close. Let's do the same thing with 26. So again, just grab that indicator right off of the quick list. I'm going to go ahead and drop it here. And we'll just do a 26 period exponential based on the close. I'm going to leave it red this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it real thick. So again, you can see it. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click on OK. And then I'm going to show you how, it's pretty easy. This is basically how he calculates the MACD. Is he'll take this 12 period exponential moving average and he'll subtract it from this 26 period exponential moving average. The difference between the blue line and the red line is this black line. That's it. Okay. So if we have a very high MACD, that means basically generally the shorter term moving average to 12 is going away from the red. It means that you're kind of in an uptrend. Okay, because if the stock is moving up right here, you'll notice that it's moving up a little bit, right? If it's moving up a little bit, the blue line is going to be above the red line, which means that you're above zero on the MACD. But also your difference is going to be positive because the stock is going up. Okay, so and it's using that to measure trend. Okay, you'll notice as it goes up faster towards the end of the chart here, it's going up faster, the difference is going to be bigger. So it's a way to measure trend, but it's also a measurement of momentum as well. Okay, if you're going down like here's a bit of a down move. You have the blue line goes below the red line. You have that basically causes it to be negative, but it also causes the value to drop. And the faster that it's going down, the more momentum there is there, the faster it's going to drop. Okay, if you're somewhat sideways in a chart, you have a very flat MACD. If you have a lot of momentum on the chart, you're going to have a very big value big peaks and troughs in MACD. So that's how MACD is calculated. It's that simple. Hello, Ashok. Thanks for coming. Welcome. Welcome. I hope things are good in India there. Okay. All right. So that's a MACD. Again, that's just a black line here. The other calculation, the other line, this red line that's normally dotted, but I've made it a little bit thick, is what's called the signal line. And all that is that's a 9-period exponential moving average of this black line. That's all that is. Gerald Appel, when he created it, he called it a signal line. And that's exactly what you can use. You can use it as a signal. If the black line, the MACD line, is above its signal line, then the MACD is going to be bullish or in a bullish trend. If it's down below the signal line, it's going to be bearish, or the MACD is going to be bearish. Okay. And when the MACD crosses up above its signal line, that would be a classic MACD buy signal. As you can see, it happened. Let's just grab a horizontal line right here. We had a cross up above that signal line here. We had a cross down below the signal line right here. Okay. You had a cross, and I'm just kind of eyeballing these, but we had a cross up above right here. We had a cross down below right here. Okay. So between these lines, the MACD is going to be bullish. Here it's bearish. Here it's bullish. Here it was bearish. And it looks like it's been bearish right about since right here. Okay. Now I can draw those visually. There's also a tool in MetaStock that's called the Expert Advisor that I'm going to apply right now. That's going to actually kind of draw where it's bullish and bearish and put arrows where the signal line occurs. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The tool that I'm going to apply to the chart right now is called the Expert Advisor. It's right here. It's this guy in the bolo hat, because all of the experts wear bolo hats. Let's go ahead and click on it. And what we're going to see is actually in the MetaStock program, there's about 40, maybe 50 experts that are built in. So I'm going to show you the one on MACD, but what I want you to understand, the big thing that I want you to know is there's a lot of tools in the toolbox. It's not just like a one-trick pony. For example, this candlesticks one, I like to show the candlesticks ones. It actually identifies like 30 different candlestick patterns. But what I want to do here is I'm going to come down to MACD. There's one in here called MACD by MetaStock. And I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the chart. I'm going to go ahead and close it. And what you're going to see is, as soon as I do that, there's going to be changes to the chart. Right here, you'll notice where this cross happened. I drew the line on the chart earlier. That's going to tell you that it went from bearish to bullish. There's a ribbon on the chart now, which issued a buy signal. Okay. Then the Apple went up a little bit, kind of came back down. It issued a sell signal, issued another buy signal, issued another sell signal. And these are all as a result of the MACD crossing below a signal line. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the chart just a little bit. We'll go ahead and delete just these horizontal lines off of the chart. But now looking at the chart, we can see exactly where the buy and sell happened. You can see there's a buy here, a signal here. There's a sell signal here. There's a buy signal here. There's a sell signal here. Okay. And what you find, or what I find with most technical systems, is they're very straightforward. This is very, very simple. If I did a decent job of explaining to you, you'll understand exactly why you're getting a buy signal here, and you should be able to do it on your own chart, right? The other thing is it's objective. So we're not saying, well, okay, we're looking at like Apple right now. The reason that it started to go up here is because it's seasonally, Apple is bullish in November because it sells a lot of phones. We're not looking at stuff like that. You can incorporate that kind of stuff, certainly, if you want to. But what we're seeing is kind of just the trend is starting to go up. We get our MACD buy signal. It's something that's measurable. We're not trying to make any guesses about what's happening. Okay, here you had your sell signal, your buy signal. Again, that's the first way of 3 different ways you can look to analyze the MACD, is based on that buy and sell signal. The second way is a method as a momentum indicator. So first, we're just looking at trends. Is it bullish or bearish right now? Is it headed up or down? And we're making our decisions based on that. The second thing that we can look at is momentum. So momentum studies generally are a reversion to the mean type studies, where if something starts to move really, really fast, there's a tendency for it to pull back, especially in the market. If you have a run up in price, generally the higher that price goes, the more stretched it gets from its mean, the more likely sellers are to step in. Okay. And so you can use MACD as a measurement of trend. And when we start to detect overbought or oversold situations in a MACD or in the MACD, when this expert's attached, what you'll get right here, you'll notice that these two bars right here are red. Okay, and if I looked at the chart, there's some greens if they get it in an oversold area, but right here, this is actually a pretty good example. Right now, it's starting to get overbought, which means there's likely going to be some sellers stepping in, and that's why we're highlighting it red. Okay, one of the things I actually also like about MetaStock, in addition to the help files, is the commentary. So in the expert advisor, there's a commentary that I can go look at on a chart. And so if I come in here and I click on view expert commentary, it's going to give me this window that I can kind of dock off to the side. I'm going to dock it right here. Ooh, I don't want to dock it there. Let's see, let's go ahead and make this just a little bit smaller so I can get it to go onto the side. That's fine. But you'll notice as soon as I opened up that commentary, there's a little bit of a red triangle right here. And that just means that this is the day that it's analyzing. So if I was looking at MACD today, this morning, it's going to say that right now the MACD is bearish since it's trading below its signal line. It's been trading below its signal line for 17 periods, 17 days, because I'm looking at a daily chart. So 17 days ago, right about here, we got that sell signal. Since that happened, the price is actually up a little bit, about 2.33%. Here's the low and here's the high. Okay. Right now, MACD is not in an overbought or oversold range. Okay. If I go back to that red bar that I was talking about just a few days ago, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You'll notice that that triangle moves. It's right here right now. Okay. If we were looking at it here, it's going to say, I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so you can read along with me in your book if you want. But it's going to say the MACD is in an overbought range. Careful though, prices may continue to move higher for some time. Wait for prices to move lower before considering any short positions. So, and that's important. If you look back here where this red happened before, it was right here, and the price just kept going up and up and up and up. It eventually kind of topped out of, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days later, right? So what we want to do, this kind of serve as an early warning system, but if you've been watching markets for any length of time, stocks can go overbought. They can go oversold. They can stay overbought. They can stay overbought for months and months and months. It might be a warning for us if we are in a position to move up our stop or to watch for a reversal. But that's why the wording here is so careful. Wait for prices to move lower before considering any short positions. Okay. And in this case, yeah, this did actually mark the top, and it kind of settled back into the sell signal that happened a couple days ago. So this is the second way. Of the 3 ways I'm going to teach you, you can look at MACD. Is it overbought or oversold? So the first is the trend. Are we bullish or bearish? Right now, in Apple, we're bearish. Are we overbought or oversold? We were overbought here, but right now, we're not overbought or oversold. Okay. There's one different way, and you'll see it right here. I'm going to go ahead and kind of make this just a little bit smaller here. The other method that the MetaStock program, the other signal that we'll look for is a divergence pattern. Okay. And I like this a lot. I'm going to show it to you a lot. The reason I like to talk about this is one of the people that I respect that we've been working with for a number of years is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Alexander Elder. He wrote a couple of really good books. One of them was called Come Into My Trading Room, and we do a lot of work with him. But he calls MACD divergence the most important signal in all of technical analysis. He likes MACD divergence that much. And just to kind of illustrate what MACD divergence is looking for, I'm just going to kind of show you what you would look for in a chart. So if I'm looking for it the way Dr. Elder is looking for it, he's going to look at a peak or a trough in MACD. In this case, I'm going to use a peak because price is generally, well, it starts over here and it ends up over here. It's generally in an uptrend. Okay, I'm going to look at the peaks in MACD. I'm going to take a look at the highest peak that happened, and I'm going to say that the highest peak was right here for MACD. Okay, and I'm going to take it back, and what we want is we want to cross below 0, and we'll take it to the peak before that. So right there's a trend line connecting this peak to this peak. Again, what he wants to see is a cross below this 0 line. Okay, if I look at that, I'm also going to take another trend line using the trend line tool in MetaStock. I'm going to look at this peak, and I'm going to connect it to this peak. Okay, that's the highest value price was during this time, and at around both of the signals. So if we take a look at here to here and here to here, that's generally going to kind of give you your peaks. Okay, now if I kind of take a look at those lines, this one's sloping up. This one's also sloping up. There's not a divergent pattern there. Okay, if we saw a divergence pattern would be if we had a peak in MACD, if they diverged. I was trying to figure out a good way to say that. Maybe I haven't had enough coffee today. But for example, like if we had this line looked a little bit more like this. If this line was going down and this line was still going up, that would be a divergent. If this line was going down, this peak to peak, and that was going up, actually that's a bullish divergence because you're seeing a peak in prices that isn't matched by a peak in MACD. So it's something to be watchful for. Dr. Elder would call that type of a pattern a breaking the back of the bulls. He considers this the most bearish pattern in all of technical analysis. And one of the things that MetaStock will look for is that divergence for you. And in this case, it just says there's been no divergent signals within the past 5 days. So there you go. There's a little bit of a listen on MACD for you. Little, it took 32 minutes, but that's really what MACD is looking for. Well, those are classic interpretations of MACD, the way that Gerald Appel talks about them. We covered the trigger line, the overbought, oversold conditions, and divergence. So, and those are conveniently enough exactly what the expert advisor will help you keep track of if you're looking at a stock. Okay, and it's just like I said at the onset of this is one of the expert advisors of the 50 or so that you can use. One of the things I like about MetaStock is it helps you understand exactly what's going on with these indicators and point them out and telling you what's happening on a bar by bar approach. One of the things I like about technical analysis in general is it's generally very, very objective. Everything that I talked about is pretty objective. These buy signals are extremely objective. We can know when they're happening. The overbought, oversold are objective enough we can actually draw them on the chart for you. And the divergence is objective enough that we can actually tell you that in this case, there's not been any divergence for 5 days. It's objective. We're not trying to make guessing games here. It's not subjective at all. Now, is MACD a good indicator? It's a great indicator. Is it the best one that we could be using? One of the things, one of the mistakes I made, and I told you initially, I started in inside sales. And I remember, it's been a long time, it's been 25 years, but I remember when I started and I just loved how much things it could do. And I would talk to people and I'd get really excited about, the 8 different charting styles, the hundreds of indicators, the 40 or 50 systems. And one of the things that would inevitably come up is like, wow, that sounds like a really big toolbox, because it is. We've been working on it since the 80s. But one of the real questions people wanted to know was like, do I need to understand all of these indicators to understand how to build a trading system? Do I need to know all 200 indicators, all 50 trading systems? How do I understand if I just want to trade Apple or Tesla or Bitcoin or whatever it might be, what the best trading strategy is? And since this is all objective, in other words, I'm not making judgment calls, it's all programmatic. One of the things that could make it easier for me is I could look at the chart. Here on Apple, I would have bought right here, based on this, I probably would have bought the next trading day. It opened at 143. Let's say we bought it at 143. Our sell signal came in at 150. Let's say we sold it there. 7 points, not a lot. 3.5% if you're going from 200, which just makes the math easier, right? If we sold it here, though, at 150 and bought it and closed that position at 150, that's going to be kind of a wash sell. If we bought it again here, 150, and then sold it here at this sell signal, that would have been about 168-ish. So we would have made about 18 points right there. We can tell how well this works because we can see every single signal on the chart where it would have happened for you. But one of the things that we can also do is, because it's objective, we don't have to do that. I can actually say, okay, well, how well did MACD work on Apple last year or the last 5 years, or the last 10 years, or the last 20 years, or, actually, we have data that goes back to 1980 on all of the US stocks here. For futures, it goes back to 1973. So you can do a lot of testing to see how well MACD performs and compare it with any of the other systems that are in MetaStock. And as you get, and one of the things I like about MetaStock is you get a little bit more versed in the program. If you want to, you can create your own indicators and tests based on indicators in the system, and it's pretty easy to do. So let's go ahead and talk about really, instead of talking more about MACD, because I'm 36 minutes in now, let's talk a little bit about how you can kind of use system testing to figure out the best indicators, the best methods for you. So let me go ahead and open up the Power Console right here. I'm going to go ahead. So right here, we've been dealing with charts here. This is a watch list. It's going to allow you to kind of look at stocks in a watch list view. Not going to play with it today. Not useful for what we're trying to show you today. Scanning. I use scanning every day, and I'll show you that in a minute. System testing, we're going to do that. So the tester, what it allows me to do is it allows me to take all those buy-sell signals from any of the systems that have system tests created for them in MetaStock and tell me how well they work. Okay. We also have a forecaster, which is a patented methodology that uses a bunch of statistics. Not going to talk too much about it today, but it is a very, very cool tool. And then we have a bit of an options viewer if you like to trade options. This will be a very, very good way to look at options. What I'm going to do right now, though, is we're going to go ahead and set up a system test. And what I've done here in MetaStock is I've made a list of 51 systems, 51 different methodologies. The reason I selected these 51s, here's the criteria I looked for. I wanted to make sure that they were built into the program. So these are systems that aren't part of add-ons that are installed. They're included with MetaStock when you get it. They're not systems that I created. Actually, this is a demo machine, so it makes that a little bit easier. There are also methodologies that do not use optimization, and they don't optimize variables. You can, if you're creating system tests, you can actually test different variables in variable optimization, which is very, very cool, but we're not going to get into that very much right today. If you have questions more along those lines, call our sales team. They can answer questions about like the capabilities of it, but it can do a lot of variable optimization. Mr. Meher, hopefully I said that loud because I tried the first name a few times, says that he sees a divergence between July 19th and September 7th on that chart. Yeah, let's see. I'll take your word for it. Ashok says wave 2 and 3 shows the divergence, probably the same date. And Mr. Meher, thank you for the question. Again, if you guys have questions, let me know. Wants to know how effective this is for intraday. Well, so everything we're doing here is on a daily time frame. But if I click right here and I wanted to look at intraday, I can test intraday intramals. I can do 1 minute, 5 minute, 30 minutes, 240 minutes, hourly. I can do multiple tick testing. So like if I click on custom here, I can say, well, instead of minutes and stuff like that, let's use 45 minutes or whatever. You can go ahead and set that to anything that you want to right here. Okay. So I'll go ahead and click on cancel though. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to test these 51 trading methodologies. Okay. And one of the things I love about our system testers, I could test every single optionable stock in the US. Like if I wanted to test all 51 of these strategies against like the optionable stocks, if I just come into Equities North America, there's a list of all of the 4,524 optionable stocks. I could test every single one of them against those 51 strategies. It wouldn't take very long, but it would definitely take more time than we have today. But it's something that is available in MetaStock that I don't see in a lot of other platforms where you can take multiple ideas and test them against one stock, but not a whole industry of stocks or not a whole industry group of stocks or certainly not all the stocks. I could also do all the NASDAQ stocks, so the New York Stock Exchange. It's a very, very powerful program. And by being able to do all that testing at once, if I know a system works really well on 5,000 stocks and it has it works on 70% of them, I think personally that helps put the odds in your favor. And that's testing that you can do because you can do that type of testing with MetaStock. We're not going to do 4,500 stocks right now. We will do Apple. We will do Tesla because everybody always asks about Tesla. And we will do, I don't know, I'm just running the DIA. Thought we had somebody give a stock, but I don't think that that's actually a stock. So in any case, it's all right. It doesn't matter that much. You can do as many stocks you can add. We get all of our data from Refinitiv. You know, as I said, we used to be owned by Reuters. They became Thomson Reuters, who later on became Refinitiv. And one of the things that's been beneficial for us and our customers is the quality of their data. You're literally getting data from the same place that hedge funds, institutions, and banks get their data from. But also the breadth of data. You know, you notice right here, I won't kind of drill into all of the lists, but there's several 100,000. We cover almost 200 markets globally. I think that somebody's actually kind of made this list just show the US. No, it has all the Asian equities and stuff like that. There's a huge, we get lots of customers from all over the world. We have tons of people in Singapore and Hong Kong and India and Australia and London. If this is something that where actually we have people in the webinar, a couple of them that are from India right now, and a guy from London. If this is something that you want to apply to your markets and you're overseas, you can, because we have a really good relationship with Reuters. So, but let's go ahead and get this system test started. I'm going to go ahead and basically we're going to do Apple, we're going to do Tesla, and we're going to do, is it Tesla? I think that it's a .o for. Let me just check. Oh, yeah. I thought I had that wrong. Let me go ahead and put in the correct symbol for Tesla. And then Dow Industrial Average. So we're going to do those three securities. We're going to test all 51 of these systems. We're going to take every single long trade. We're going to do short trades as well. So we're going to do both. There's approximately 250 days in a year. So I'm going to leave this at 500 records. It should run pretty quickly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into the trade options and just show you how I'm going to set up this system test. We're going to go a little bit long on today's demo. Just we don't have anything coming up, so we'll probably be about maybe 15 minutes long. I'm just going to warn you a little bit right now, just because I'm running behind. But we're going to start with about $10,000. We're going to trade based on our percent of available equity. So I'm going to basically, there are some options here. I'm going to have it test our hypothetical account is going to be 10,000 US dollars. When we're going to trade, here are our options for trading. I can trade 70 units at a time, so that would be 70 shares. I could trade based on a transaction cost. So if I put 700 in, it would, every time it gets a buy signal, I buy 700 shares. Every time it gets a sell, or $700, not shares. Every time it gets a sell signal, it sells $700 worth, and we'll figure out how many shares it needs to buy to get to 700. Or I can trade based on percent of available equity. So for example, what that means is like if I trade 70% of my available equity, my first trade on account side, let's say our trading account is $10,000, my first trade is always going to be $7,000 because that's 70% of 10,000. But if I double my account, like if I'm up to 20,000, it's going to be 70% of the available equity. So this one allows us to test with compounding gains over time. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. Okay. On the broker tab, I'm going to leave commissions at 0. And we're just going to basically trade based on that. Okay. On trade execution, I'm going to leave it at realistic market prices. Very quickly, what that means is if I get a buy signal, generally, let's say we got this MACD buy signal, we're going to assume that that came in sometime during the day. And so we're going to check the market. Basically, this program will check the market at close. Since it checks the market after close, we're not sure when during the day that came in. We're going to buy at the next open. Okay, so realistic market prices means it gets the signal, it waits till the open of the next day and buys the open. Same thing with sell. It's going to wait till it gets the signal to get out of that trade, and then it's going to buy at the open of the next bar. You can change that. It might be more realistic. You're going to check the market 45 minutes before that bar is complete, and you're going to trade the same day. In that case, you'd take realistic out here and just buy in the close, sell in the close. Okay, and you do have complete control over that. I'm going to leave it on what we call realistic. I'm going to read a book on how to talk. I'm going to leave it on realistic. So we're going to do it based on realistic market prices. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. I'm going to go ahead and start that system test. We're going to go ahead and let it run through. it's going to run 450 system tests. So I'm going to go ahead and have it not display that self-referencing formula anymore. And you'll notice as it's going through, it's testing a lot of different technical theories. Here's a point and figure pattern system. Here's a bull power system, a fractal system. There are a lot of different built-in systems that are just in MetaStock that you can just use. So, and what I talk to people about, this is a good way. Oh, it looks like one of them still has optimization. So this is a good way, though, for us to get an idea of what works. I still firmly believe once you find a system, you should look into why the indicators are giving you buy and sell signals and understand why you're trading. And the reason I think that is that'll help you with your discipline. You know, you want to know why you're making a trade. I think it helps me stay in a trade if it's going against me, if I know where that exit is going to come in, right? Or if I understand what the stop losses are. I think all of that leads into kind of the discipline for trading. But the point that I'm trying to make is do not use this. Don't use it as a way to bypass your education completely, more as a shortcut. So if there's 200 indicators, I couldn't tell you what all these 200 indicators are in MetaStock, and I've been using it 25 years. What we want to do is, with all trades, we want to be able to focus on what works. And this is a good way for us to say, what's working? Let's learn about that. Let's focus on those indicators that work, okay? Hopefully that makes sense to you. It got done, it popped away before I clicked on view report. So I'll just click on report here. We'll go ahead and view the report and I'll show you kind of how that looks. So again, we did 51 methods, okay? We did about 3 stocks. We could do 5,000 stocks. If we could do as many stocks as we want. And what I'm gonna do, obviously a green is gonna mean that that system returned a positive result over the last 2 years, which is how much we tested. A red bar will mean that we got a negative result over the last 2 years. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort this based on average net profit. So generally speaking, these systems over here worked really well over the last 2 years. These systems didn't. So why are we going to focus on learning why these systems work when they didn't even work on the stocks we're interested in last year, right? We want to focus our attention and our energy on those things that work. And one of the systems that always is very, very popular is a system called PS Fractal system. It was our best performing on those 3 stocks over the last year. In fact, if you would have taken every buy and sell signal on all 3 of those stocks, your average net gain would have been about 200% over 2 years, okay? That's average. We're gonna view a little bit closer into that. Our best would have been $53,889, with our worst coming in at about $1,000 of gain, okay? On average, our average number of trades for each stock was about 25 trades. And our average trade, winning trade versus our average was 12 and 13. So we actually had, with this system, we had more losers than we had winners. But because we won $5 to every $1 we lost, it actually ended up being a very profitable system for us, okay? If that's something, and I do call this a little bit about finding the right strategy for you. And what I mean by that is 25 trades over a 2-year period is going to be, you know, here in the Utah, we have 12 months in a year. So, you know, that's 2 years. That's about 1 trade a month. That's not that bad. Okay. That's something that I would feel very comfortable with. Now, if I'm looking at a system, you wouldn't be looking at this one. It traded 148 times. That would be way too active for me. You know, I work, I generally try and keep my trading between here in Utah 1:40 and 2 o'clock, just so that I'm not spending all day looking at the market, so I can get stuff done, so that I can keep my job that I like, right? But for you, your situation might be different. You know, you may be more comfortable trading more actively. Certainly you wouldn't want to trade 148 times to make less money. But if you're looking at a scenario where it's a lot more trades, but a lot more profit, you could kind of figure out if it's something for you. In this particular case, if you're not comfortable losing 13 times to win 12 times, you might look for a better profit loss system. But you're always going to have winners. You're always going to have losers. What we want to find is something that we're comfortable with. Fractal trading system has been working really, really well. It's always one of the best performing systems. So we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and click into it. We'll go ahead and click on view right here. And you'll see the Apple, it made about 49% over 2 years. On Tesla, it really did well. 53,000, that was the best performing. And on the Dow ETF, it made about 920 bucks. So now we're kind of seeing what methodologies work. If I tested 5,000 securities, I'd have 5,000 green and red bars here. I'd be able to focus on not only the method that works on all of those, but also the stocks. Again, I want to focus, what I want to do as a trader is I want to be able to focus on what opportunities exist with the best methods available. And I believe system testing will help you get there. So I'm going to, again, sort this by net profit. We'll look at Tesla. Did really well over the last 2 years. It tested from 123 to 122. Our net gain was 538 trades. 20 trades were winners, or 20 total trades of that. 13 were winners and 7 were losers. Our dollar gained versus our dollar loss was $5. So again, Tesla really, really performed well with this security over the last 2 years. That doesn't mean 2 years you're going to have exactly the same performance. But again, what I want to know is what works, what's been working, and then to focus on those methods that do work. And being somebody that's run a lot of system testing over the years, this fractal system has been very, very consistently a very good performer. So if I click on view right here, it's going to give me a total report. We won't spend a lot of time on this report, but it'll tell you how we did versus annualized. So we actually did way better, 272% better than just buying Tesla 2 years ago and holding. We did actually, no. That was, we did about the same as buying and holding. Actually, that's not. We actually underperformed buy and hold by about 8% because Tesla's been such a rocket. So it does tell us that we underperform buy and hold, which does happen when stocks go like this. Generally, if you knew ahead of time that it was going to go like this, you'd buy and just hold on to it. But by trading it, you do get in and out, and we generally take advantage of moves, and we have a strategy in place other than hope it goes like this, right? So in terms of profitable trades, 8 of them were to the long side, 5 of them were to the short side, okay? On average, every time we traded, we made about $4,683. Our highest profit was this number, our lowest profit. Our most winning trades in a row was 4, okay? Which I'm not as concerned about how many. Psychologically, I can win every time in a row. It just makes me feel better, right? Losing trades in a row, that's way more important to me. And in this particular methodology, it didn't have 2 losing trades in a row. They were all, you had a loser, and then the next trade was still a winner. So. Ashok says momentum, yeah, very good. Momentum is great in Tesla the last couple of years. Absolutely. Okay. On profitable trades, on average, we lost $1,000 every time we had a losing trade. Our biggest one was minus $2,300, with our lowest one being minus $13. Okay, so and all that is kind of measured out here for you. I like to pay attention to the profit loss index. This measures your closed position profit to your closed position loss. Plus 100 is good, minus 100 is terrible. 88, I can't see out of this eye, and I'm blind in this eye. 88.50 is a really good number, okay? Risk reward index measures your biggest gains versus your biggest losses, 96%. Again, no, if you have questions on any of the, I'm just pointing out the ones that I like. If you have questions about any of these metrics, if you click on help, it's very, very well documented. It kind of walks you through all of it. You can see average trade lanes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a report. It's kind of boring. Let's go ahead and the other thing I do like to look at though is equity. So if I look at the equity tab, this gives me an idea of how my equity grew over those last 2 years, okay? And you can see with the exception of this drawdown here, we had a couple of bad trades here, with the exception of kind of this area, it's been pretty consistent. I definitely like to see it be a little bit more consistent, especially recently, but this is consistent enough. What I don't want to see is like, like I don't want to see big wins, big losses, big gains, big losses. Because again, I want to have something that's consistent and that doesn't necessarily keep me up at night, right? I just want, I want something that's consistent that doesn't have a lot of drawdowns in my performance results. So looking at this, I'd say generally this looks like a pretty good system for Tesla. Looking at kind of the thing, and just the fact that we tested 3 securities, this would be something that I'd say we should learn about. So if I want to plot this on a chart, let's go ahead and kind of go to the next logical step there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on plot chart. We'll go ahead and click on OK. Okay, there's an expert. The expert does have an alert functionality. So there's an expert attached to this Tesla chart that's giving us some alerts. Let's go ahead and kind of close this down. Go ahead and click on close. It's a fractal trading system number 2. Actually, that's attached because it's been working since the last time we tested Tesla and we had the expert attached. But I'm going to detach that expert for now. Actually, I think it was fractal trading system number 1 this time. But what I want to show you first is it's going to tell you every time you bought, every time you sold, every time you bought, every time you sold. It's going to give you that for all of the kind of things, and you can see it visually with the equity curve. So you can get a really good idea of how this would have traded for you, where your losses would have been, you know, all that kind of stuff before you even go to the next step. If we like it, if this is something that we want to be able to implement in the trading that we're doing, well, then we want to learn about it. So in that case, I'll go back to the expert advisor. I'll find that PS fractal trading system. In this case, it was number 1. Okay, I'm going to attach it to the chart. Go ahead and click on close, and that'll actually show me where I bought again and where I sold again, but it'll also apply that commentary. And that commentary is so helpful for understanding different methodologies. So if I go to view expert commentary, again, it's going to start by analyzing the current day. Okay, I can move this to any day that I want, but in this particular case, with this one, it just says there's no trading signals that exist today. But then it's going to tell us where this system comes from, what it's using, how we're using it. So I'll just read it to you because I'm going to do that anyway. Well, there are many definitions for a fractal in securities trading. The definition used by this is the one that was created by Bill Williams, PhD, in his chaos-based trading methodology. According to Bill Williams, an up fractal is defined as a middle bar with 2 lower highs on each side. So high, sometimes this is called a pivot. Bill Williams calls it a fractal, but it's a high surrounded by 2 lower highs. So you have a lower high on both sides. That's a fractal, okay? A down fractal would be the reverse, a middle bar with 2 lower lows. So you look at the low, it has a higher low and a higher low. Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, did I say that right? I nailed it. Okay, so that would be a down fractal. The reverse would be a middle bar with 2 higher lows on each side of it. Okay, this system is based on a small fraction of Bill Williams' complete trading system. It enters a long position when the cross of the security crosses above the most recent up fractal, okay, or up pivot, if you want to call it that. And the position will be exit when it crosses down below a down fractal, okay. So now we can kind of understand it's looking for that higher high surrounded by 2 higher lows. When it breaks that, it's going to buy. When it makes a low and then it penetrates that low, it makes a fractal low by having a low that's surrounded by 2 higher lows. Once that gets penetrated, that's when it's going to get out of the trade. And it's actually a very, very simple trading methodology, but it's looking for a breakout above support and then it's going to sell based on a failure of resistance. It's very, very classic technical analysis. Again, very simple to understand. Again, completely objective. If you understand what that is saying, it's easy to kind of follow along with in your book, right? So that's how you kind of go about evaluating a lot of different methodologies to see what works for you, how often you want to be trading it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The last thing I want to show you in MetaStock, because it is literally a function that I use every day, unless I miss market close because I got busy, but is the ability to scan. So if you do like this fractal system and you wanted to find a long trade today, well, if we're looking at Tesla, we had a short trade here a couple of days ago that's not working out so good. But if I wanted to find an opportunity that exists in the market based on this up fractal or any of the other 50 systems that exist in the market, we have a tool for that. We call it the scanner, which is just an Explorer. We call it the Explorer, which is just a scanner. So if I click on the Power Console right here, back here, and I want to say, show me those fractals today, I'm just going to find that PS fractal trading system right here. Okay, and again, you can run, I say daily. I don't look at the market more than once a day. If you want to use minutes and hours, you can. I just generally tend to have a tendency to talk about the way I use it. But if I wanted to scan for the fractals, so I'll find fractal trading system number 1. I can scan any list that I want. So if I wanted to scan that whole list of optionables, I could. If I wanted to do all the ETFs, I could. If I wanted to do just the New York stock or the NASDAQ, I could. I could do London. If I drilled into our Europe category, our Asia category, just about anything that I want, okay? I do have a couple of them. You'll notice that this is also selected. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear that out. We'll just go ahead and reset it. You can run multiple scans too, there. There you go. So let's go ahead and back to that fractal trading system number 1. This is going to go through 4,500 stocks. I don't have to look at 4,500 stocks. If I just want to find something that might look at a buy, I can go through the 4,500 stocks that are out there that are optional. Maybe you're an option trader. In this particular case, it's rejecting about 96% of those 4,500 stocks. So again, I found something that I like. Now I want to focus on the opportunities. This would allow me to go in and find those opportunities. Very, very good tool. I use it every single day. I love the ability. Now, generally, typically when I'm scanning, it's like you care. I only scan like the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow. Because and the reason I do that is I like things, I know that they're going to have a certain amount of liquidity for those particular securities, but you can do anything you want. Typically, though, this is just going to chunk through those. It usually doesn't take very long. It's taking a little bit longer here, but I'm also broadcasting my video and my audio and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think we'll wait for it to get done. Really, all you're going to get down here when it is done is just a list. These had a long signal. These had a short signal. And you can focus on your attention. Or you can focus your attention on what actually has an opportunity in the market. So there you go. Hello, Michael from Nigeria. Thanks for coming today. Good to see you. All right. Thank you, Jeff. It felt magical to me. Oh, thanks. Thanks for coming, Mr. Maher. Maybe I'll get brave and try to pronounce your name. So in a nutshell, those are kind of a few of the things that I think has helped MetaStock get rated #1 in its price category for 27 years in a row. There's certainly tools that have been helpful for me over the years. For MetaStock, we have 2 different versions. And what I'm going to offer today is the ability to try MetaStock on what we call an extended trial. So we have what we call MetaStock RT. MetaStock RT stands for real time. It's $250 per month. It includes MetaStock, which is pretty much everything I showed you today, the real-time version of MetaStock. It also includes a package I didn't even talk about, which is a package called Zenith. Zenith was developed by, at the cost of over $1 billion. They spent way over $1 billion by now on it. They keep adding things and adjusting it and changing it. It's an institutional quality platform, similar to something that would be used by a bank or hedge fund. And what it really specializes is in its news. In fact, it's supported by 2,000 full-time reporters in 200 different news bureaus around the world. It's awesome. It's amazing the amount that we charge for that. It's a Bloomberg quality news feed that's included. I didn't even show it today, but it does a lot of things. It's included in this price with MetaStock, which does include everything that we do. $250 per month. Okay. The other version of MetaStock that we have is MetaStock DC. So MetaStock DC is $69 per month, and that would include everything you need to run. You'll get MetaStock. You'll get the data that you need in the region that you need it. Okay. And we have 3 regions basically. There's North and South America, Asia Pacific, and Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Okay. What I'm going to offer you today is the ability to try it. If you buy a month of data, we're going to give you the 2nd and the 3rd month for free. Okay. We're also we want you to use it. We want you to keep it. And so that is going to include MetaStock 17, our latest version. Actually, it's MetaStock 17.5 now. It's going to include the data that you need for the region of your choice. We're also going to include what we call our white glove installation support, where you'll get to sit down with one of our reps, one of our support reps. They're based here in Salt Lake City, Utah. They'll walk you through the program. They'll answer any questions you have, and they'll make sure everything's installed properly and that you know how to use it. Those appointments can last up to 2 hours, depending on kind of how much they go through, but they're very, very good. We're also going to include our Unleash the Power of MetaStock, which is normally $99. That's going to be included for free. Again, we want to give you a low value or a low price offer. Like for our real-time program, you can try the real-time program for less than $100 a month for the next 3 months. If it's something that's helpful for you, you're going to keep it. And we're going to do our best to make sure it's helpful for you by giving you unlimited access to our support, that white glove installation, the training materials, all that kind of stuff. If you're like me and you just want to look at the market once a day, you could do MetaStock DC. With MetaStock DC, you just get the end of day. You're still going to get the data region for the data that you need. You're still going to get that support appointment. You're still going to get the Unleash the Power of MetaStock. But the price for that, the price so that you can try the software that's been rated #1 28 years in a row, less than $20 a month, or about 69 divided by 3, a little bit more than $20 a month. That's all. If it's helpful for you, you're going to keep it. So try it out. There's a reason it's been rated #1. It's such a great platform. It's not something that we developed last week and through, it's easy to develop software that has like bullet points and just, an impressive list of features. But this really does have a lot of things that are very carefully thought of and that we've been adding to it for over 27 years. One of the things I love about MetaStock is I don't think it's a program you're going to grow out of, because as you grow as a trader, it's going to grow with you. You're not going to spend a bunch of money, and time being the more important factor there, learning a software program that you're just not going to be able to that you're going to outgrow. So give it a try. Again, it's been rated 27 years in a row, and you can try it for 3 months for less than $20 a month. So 800-882-3040. You can chat online with us at metastock.com/sales-chat. If you have any questions, they do a really good job of answering for you. If you want to email me personally, you're welcome to. Jeffrey.gibby@metastock.com. So with that being said, did I say 15 minutes over? I ended up a little bit earlier than that, but I want to say thank you for coming. I hope that was helpful for you. Try it out. See if you like it. Thanks for coming. I'll see you at the next one.